Hey guys, very good morning. So I hope you're all doing well. Thank you for joining this session in this very early Saturday morning. So appreciate every one of you for taking your time out for this session. So hope you guys know me. So I'm Vikash Srivastava. I'm one of the co-founders of AlmaBetter, and I'm also heading product and engineering here. So really excited to do this session on how does Zomato use machine learning on day-to-day basis. And this is going to be a really fun session. There could be slight technical discussions, but I would hope that you guys should not sort of get intimidated or sort of afraid if you look at, let's say, heavy jargons, because those are the things you'll sort of learn in the coming days and months. So without any ado, let's begin the session, guys. Um, So cool. So let's walk through the today's agenda. So first of all, we're going to understand the overview of Zomato, as in we want to understand what does Zomato do, and we want to understand why this company has become such a big name. So of course, Zomato got IPO'd last year. They became public. So we're going to talk about their basically basic offerings and how they operate. Next, we are going to talk about asking the right questions, right? So whenever we are trying to do data science or machine learning at any company or any business, right, we want to ask the right questions. And that is where we'll sort of begin to give you the context. Next, we want to give you a basic understanding of how machine learning is being applied at Zomato, right? So, and then there are lot of use cases. Next, we are going to talk about the ML techniques which are powering all these major use cases as Zomato. So that's important for us to know. Of course, we'll not delve into the details, but having even the surface level understanding will help you sort of go towards understanding the things in depth, right? So, of course, if the time had permitted, if we were doing like 3 to 4 hours masterclass, we would have loved to delve deep into the algorithms and how machine learning is essentially being used at Zomato. But of course, we'll try to cover certain concepts there. And then we're going to talk about how Zomato handles such a large scale ML infrastructure, right? And then so instead of the icebreaker quiz, we had planned for that earlier, but because this session might get a bit let's say technical, we'd want to keep you guys involved in the discussions as we move ahead in the class. So we'll share a basic Padlet and where we'll want to sort of get you guys involved, and I'll be asking certain questions, and if you can answer over the Padlet, that would be great, because we want to make this session really engaging. So we'll do that. And then once we have done that, we will do a basic program walkthrough of AlmaBetter, talk about how we are teaching data science and how are we enabling our students to learn data science and get jobs in the field, right? And then if you guys have any questions, please keep posting them in the Q&A section, and we'll take those questions turn by turn. So all right, guys, so I hope you're all excited. So let's begin. Let me see the, yeah. All right. Yeah, we will definitely give overview of data science course, and we'll talk about the placements. That will come in a while, where we talk about the AlmaBetter program walkthrough. So, all right. All right, so you guys might be familiar with Zomato, right? So Zomato is a really popular company, right? They recently became public, and so the primary objective of the Zomato app is it allows customers to order food from various restaurants nearby, and essentially Zomato lists a lot of restaurants across the country, and on the basis of which, of course, they have proper data around these restaurants, what's the reviews around those, and what's the rating. And so they have a lot of restaurants listed, and now the customers on the app they basically find these restaurants and they start ordering food, right? It's straightforward, but if you look at it, this is not that simple, right? The things are actually much complex if you look at the granular workings of the platform, right? Uh, so of course, the first bit is that we can order online food and it gets delivered. We have a lot of interactions and engagement during that particular order life cycle, where let's say I can find really good restaurants, I can add a particular food item in the cart, I can make the payment, and then there Zomato also helps us show what's the expected delivery time of a particular order, right? Um, so of course, next is it gives you a really good way to discover restaurants, right? And of course, the third thing is Zomato uses advertising, as in you might have seen they might be associating with a lot of other brands to show or advertise them on the Zomato app itself, so that the customers can know about these platforms and they can probably purchase certain offerings from those brands specifically, right? So this is overall what Zomato does, right? And so overall, Zomato, if you guys know, it has three apps overall. One is, of course, which we primarily use is the consumer app, right? It's the main Zomato app that we use to order, find restaurants and order food from there, right? It's as simple as that. The next bit is the restaurant app, right? So, Zomato has a lot of restaurants partnered with them. So they also have an app for these restaurant partners where they can sort of list their menus, or there are a lot of different things that they can do, as in track orders, and they have proper reporting and analytics around which they can get insights into how much orders a particular restaurant is getting, and what's the rating on these essentially on these orders. So there is a restaurant facing app, and then the third app is the delivery partner app, right? The person who comes to your home and deliver you food, right? They also have an app where they get the details on what kind of let's say orders they need to deliver. So they might be seeing the restaurant location from which the order would be originating, and then of course they would have a delivery location, as in the location where they're going to deliver the food overall, right? So there are mostly three apps inside the Zomato ecosystem. And if you guys know that, of course, we primarily use the consumer app, right? We hardly would have, let's say, installed restaurant app, because those are specifically defined for restaurant partners, and it comes through a proper application process where a restaurant wants to list themselves on the Zomato platform, so they would have to go through a certain process, right? So of course, not everyone can list themselves on Zomato, so there is a certain process. So let's say if I start a restaurant today, and probably let's say my restaurant name is Curriculum, right, which is the curry. So but the process would not be that straightforward. Of course, I would need to apply for it, and then only I would be getting listed on the Zomato app, as in I'd be able, as in the customers would be able to discover that particular listed restaurant in their feed, which of course depends on a lot of factors, right? So of course there are like lakhs of restaurants, millions of restaurants in India, and to a particular customer, what kind of restaurants would Zomato want to show? So that involves a lot of machine learning that actually we'll talk about. But I hope you guys get the idea that this is the basic overview of the Zomato ecosystem, where it has three apps or applications overall, and this is how the three parties are more or less connected with each other, right? So one is, of course, your consumer, the second is your restaurant, and the third is your delivery partner, right? So guys, can you please yeah, just mention in the chat if you're able to just understand this basic overview of Zomato's ecosystem, and then we'll sort of move ahead, right? Awesome. I think so. Most of you are able to, of course, understand this. This is pretty basic, right? So nothing much, right? So now, let's say you are a data scientist at Zomato, right? And you want to improve customer experience. You want to help Zomato grow the business, right? Because you have access to so much of data, right? You have access to customers data. You have access to customers orders data. you might have access to maybe the restaurant's data as well, right? So as a data scientist, your responsibility would be to ask the really important questions that will help Zomato understand or tackle the key problems that they might be facing in their day-to-day operations, and they would want to understand how do they grow their business overall, right? So the first question, let's say that I can simply ask, right, as let's say as a data scientist, right, when will this food order get delivered, right? So let's say a customer who orders a food from Zomato, right? So of course, if you have ordered at least once, you will be seeing that there is an ETA, which is the expected time of arrival of the food to your location. So we want to sort of understand, as in how long will this food order get delivered, right? Is it going to take 20 minutes? Is it going to take 30 minutes? Is it going to take 40 minutes or probably an hour, right? That depends, because you do not want to keep the customer sort of keep craving for the food for longer, right? Otherwise, they will get really frustrated, right? So of course, Zomato has a good responsibility, as an important responsibility to not only facilitate the proper delivery of the food, but that has to be delivered in good time, right? So this is a very important question, as in what are the factors which will determine when is a particular food order getting delivered, right? So that is the one important question. Next question that we can ask ourselves is, how much time will the restaurant take to prepare this food order, right? So restaurant, based on a lot of factors that will sort of determine how much time a particular restaurant takes to prepare a particular food order, right? It depends upon it could depend upon a lot of factors, right? And before we sort of go ahead, right, and what we want to do is we want to engage you guys in terms of I want to get your inputs, as in what are your thoughts on how Zomato works. So what I'll do, I'll just open a Padlet, right? And then so hang on, just give me a second, guys. Right, so all right, and I'll just change the name of this, because we are doing a Zomato masterclass. I hadn't prepared this earlier, but felt that this could be interesting, because we keep doing this in live classes where we want to involve our students in the discussion, because we don't want to make this feel like a one-way conversation. There has to be a two-way conversation. That's where you sort of learn the most, right? So now what I'll do, I'll just share this in the chat, this Padlet link. And I request the team, please share this Padlet link over the other channels where we are streaming this masterclass. So please do that. So now my question is, guys, once you have the Padlet, just open it and you can start posting, right? So my question is, can you just state, let's say, 2-3 factors which will sort of govern how much time will the restaurant take to prepare a food order, right? So can you go ahead and start posting here, right? So it's pretty straightforward here, if you see. So just click here and you'll be able to post. If you're facing issues, let me know. But I think, yeah, you can get started. So, all right. Are you guys... So yeah, please mention in the Padlet, right? So someone has, so if you guys can actually also mention your name. So what we will do, if we are getting a lot of let's say likes or votes on a particular answer, we will give that person goodie. That's more or less the replacement for the quiz that we had planned initially. But I just want to understand, right? So there, so whoever has written this answer, can you please also write your name? But anyway, let's see. So a particular person is saying number of orders restaurant is serving, right? So this is the answer by Shushmita. And all right, so this is of course one major factor. I'll go ahead and like this post. So the question is, again, I'll reiterate. How much time will the restaurant take to prepare this food order, right? So best dish in a category, all right. Time for each order, who is the delivery partner. So see, we are not even gone into the delivery time exactly. We are just trying to focus on how much time will the restaurant take to prepare the food. So let's say if you ordered something, how much time will the restaurant take to prepare the food, right? Before it is sort of dispatched, right? So rating of the restaurant, that might be some in a way correlated, but I would say, okay, type of location. Again, the location wouldn't sort of determine exactly as in how the restaurant would, how much time the restaurant would take to finish or complete that order. So depends upon the type of food order, and I'll basically like this post. So of course, it depends upon the type of food order, right? So let's say if I'm just ordering a simple burger, that might be quick for the restaurant to make, right? But let's say I am ordering 10 pizzas, right, at one go, right? So let's say if I'm doing a house party and I have gathered all my friends here, this is a really good time. This could be, let's say, a Saturday night, and now we are trying to have a really good food, and we have ordered, let's say, 10 pizzas, right? So of course, the quantity of order will definitely determine how much time will the restaurant take to finish that order, right? So depending on the dish, which is great, standard cooking time to cook this order. Okay, okay. So of course, I'm not asking as in how much time will the restaurant take, because that could be really subjective. What I'm trying to get towards is what are the factors that could govern a restaurant, right? So now, has anyone mentioned, let's say, the raw item supply, as in, let's say, if the restaurant does not have a proper supply of the raw materials which would be required in making the food, that could also be a governing factor. Because if I do not have a lot of raw materials, let's say if I do not have enough, let's say, wheat or rice, right, or probably, let's say, the vegetables, or there could be a lot of things, right? If those are not in proper quantity, as in if the restaurant does not have a proper idea of how much demand that they can expect from the consumer side, how will they be able to sort of define as in how much quantity of raw material should I have in this store, so that once if I receive an order, I should be able to quickly serve that, right? Of course, it will also depend on the complexity of the food to dish to prepare, and this is a great answer, I would say, from Siddhi Patil. Really love this answer. So it actually depends upon the complexity of the dish as well, right? So some food items are very straightforward and they wouldn't take a lot of time to sort of create, right? But there could be some other food items which might actually take a lot of time to prepare, right? But of course, let's say based on the food orders data, based on the restaurant orders data, Zomato can sort of also pre-analyze in a way, as in how much demand can I expect at a particular restaurant, right? So these things Zomato can do totally, but really love this answer, which is the complexity of the dish as well, right? So suggestion for vegetarian food, all right, depends on team food making, um, delivery partners behavior. So of course, we're not yet there on the delivery partner. Availability of food, all right. So a lot of times this has happened with me personally, that I've ordered a food and the restaurant has canceled that order, right? And the only motivation, this, so there could be primarily two reasons: either the restaurant is sort of closing or shutting itself because it might have exceeded the time, or probably it might not have that particular let's say ingredients required to make that particular food. So that could be, that's why the restaurant is sort of denying that, hey, I'll not be able to serve you that order. Probably you can order from somewhere else, but at least for this moment, we won't be able to help you. So that could be the case. But really great answers, I think. Depends on staff working. That can also depend, right? So if the logistics within the restaurant, if that is really optimized, then the restaurant will be able to quickly serve the orders. Otherwise, it will not be, right? So of course, you need to look at the logistics within the restaurant, as in who will be, let's say, preparing the parathas, who will be preparing the curries, right? So and what kind of raw materials they would need, right? How many staff they would need. So that all depends upon the volume that restaurant would be receiving, and there could be other factors as well, right? So a lot of these days we get our orders relatively fast, like within 30 minutes or 40 minutes. So usually what happens that some of the ingredients might be already prepared, and then they can quickly sort of make the dish and deliver that, right? So of course, this particular answer, I think I saw some ingredients that are pre-prepared and needs only assembly or need to prepare from scratch. That's a good answer that can work for a lot of cases, might not work for a lot of cases, but definitely that is how a restaurant can sort of optimize, right? So imagining, let's say, imagine you open up a restaurant, and how do you think about, let's say, serving probably, let's say, 100 orders within an hour, right? So you have to put a lot of smart decision making there in, so that you can actually fulfill all those orders, right? So of course, we started with asking these pertinent questions. So that was the second question. So next is, who should be the delivery partner for this food order, right? So that's also an important question, right? So once the food has been prepared and it's ready to be dispatched, so who should be the delivery partner for this food order, right? And that can depend upon a lot of factors related to the delivery partner. As in, of course, the delivery partner should be around the vicinity, right, of the restaurant, so that they wouldn't take a lot of time to actually reach to the restaurant. It might also depend upon the quality of the delivery partner and their ratings, as in how have they performed in the last in their sort of involvement with Zomato. All right. So that was like the third question that as a data scientist you can ask at Zomato. Next is this photo a food shot, right? So if you have explored the Zomato app, right, let's say a lot of customers, they can upload their photos of the food, and the Zomato might ask question, right? So of course it can employ people who can have a look at individual photos and of food and take a call. Okay, this looks like this, but they would want to automate. So because what could happen, right? Every day they might be getting, let's say, lakhs or thousands of food photos in their app, right? And it's sort of impossible for, let's say, them to deploy, let's say, humans, so that they go ahead and tag these photos, as in tag and define what that photo contains overall, right? So that is one question that you can ask. Next is the DP wearing a mask, right? And this became a lot of this became a very important question, especially in the pandemic, right? Where let's say people wanted to sort of maintain distancing due to COVID, right? And Zomato would encourage their delivery partners to wear masks, right? But of course, Zomato cannot, let's say, manually manage all these delivery partners and make sure that they are wearing a mask. So what they are doing instead is they are encouraging these delivery partners to take a photo wearing a mask, and then the Zomato's, let's say, face recognition models, they would sort of understand and define whether a DP is wearing a mask or not, and then accordingly they can sort of penalize or, let's say, reward them for good or bad behavior, right? It works both ways overall. Cool. Right. So these are like the questions, and these are not, of course, exhaustive questions, right? You can keep asking a lot of pertinent questions, which are very crucial for the business to operate and grow, right? And these I've just listed the important questions, but there could be a lot of other questions. So probably let's do one thing, guys. So let's come back to this Padlet, and I want to do something interesting, right? So I'll just clear the post again. And I have a question for you guys, right? So, hang on. This is probably okay. All right, awesome. So now, can you come back to the Padlet and help me understand one? So, apart from these, let's say, 5 questions that we have listed here, can you let's say, write questions that you feel would be really important for Zomato as a business to tackle or understand, right? So can you mention those questions in the Padlet? I just want to understand. So when we order delivery partner available at a time and deliver in time, all right. Probably if you can rephrase the question, right? Money management. Can you elaborate on your question? So simple requirement from my side, guys, is I just want you guys to write the questions that you feel would be really important for Zomato as a business to ask themselves, right? So, of course, even before we go ahead and think of strategy and think of building a solution for solving a key customer problem, we want to first ask a really important question, right? And this is, of course, the onset of any analysis. You want to keep asking really strong questions and see if you can answer those, let's say, turn by turn, right? So can the DP deliver within the time limit? All right, Bisuru. Cool. How do you determine the minimum order? That's from Ben. What do you mean by minimum order? Ben, can you mention that? All right. How to show exact food that would search? Uh, that's a good question. So let's say there is a search functionality and you want to, let's say, search, let's say, puri sabzi, right? And what you want to do is you want to, of course, get really good food dishes search there. And you also want to discover really good restaurants who can Yeah, sorry guys. I think something weird happened. All right. We'll sort of um resume again. Uh cool. All right. Hang on, something is weird. All right. So I hope you guys are now able to see the screen, right? So of course, we were discussing as in the what are really good questions that you can ask. So how many orders are placed and accepted by a particular restaurant? And so that's a good question. Of course, you can get this data by doing a fairly simple analysis. As in, what do you do? You go to, let's say, the orders table and you group by, let's say, restaurants, and you can see that okay, how many orders a particular restaurant is getting, let's say, and that you can sort of define on a, let's say, daily basis, or probably on a monthly basis, or even on an annual basis. So these are like different degrees where on the basis of which you can sort of report your metric, but that is there. What all to suggest to customer according to the user by checking his previous delivery. So all right, I think this is from Sarthak. All right, Sarthak, that also makes sense. What is the past lead time taken by restaurant? So so David, this is a good question. Of course, again, if you look at, let's say, the orders or restaurant data, you can simply get this answer. So someone said, is the review fake or genuine, right? So of course, on Zomato, a lot of people are ordering every single day, and they are also posting reviews of their orders, or probably of the food, or on the restaurant overall. And Zomato would want to classify whether this review looks genuine or fake, right? Because people can have malicious intent and they can sort of spread fake reviews just to probably, let's say, foster their agenda. But overall, Zomato needs to have a proper control on, let's say, all these fake reviews which might be getting posted on their platform, right? So, all right. So cool, guys. So I think this looks really great. I know you guys are doing awesome. As in, you are writing really great questions, and I'm sure if you sort of keep doing this, you'll be able to sort of do really good data science, right? Because the first step is to start asking the right questions, right? If you do not begin from there, then probably you might be lost in your way, right? All right. So let's move ahead and talk in detail, right? So overall, so this is, of course, so this is taken from Zomato's side only. So it's a very good explanatory image to just explain machine learning in nutshell, right? So it's not related to Zomato, it's not related to this, but it of course fits in their context, right? So if you guys might have learned even slightly about machine learning, right? So what usually happens that so whenever we are training a machine learning model, right? So there, what we do is that we know the output and we know the input, right? And what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out the brain, right? Which basically, so on a certain set of input, it will give me a particular output, right? So in usually what happens, and in machine learning, this is like a very common task, right? So you want to, let's say, predict something, right? So in Zomato's case, let's take a very simple example. And I want to, let's say, determine or regress the time taken for an order to be delivered to a customer, right? So let's say from the point of time where I place a food order, right? So how much time will my order take to get delivered to my home, right? So that includes your food preparation time plus the delivery time, right? So the combination of these two will give me the overall ETA of the food, which is an acronym again for expected time of arrival. So now, so the simple question in machine learning, let's say, or it's a very simple question, right? How much time will a food order take to get delivered, right? So now, how do how do companies solve such type of problems? So they can employ something called a regression um, uh, on such questions, and they can ask, right? So regression simply means you want to predict a particular numerical value, right? So in this case, this numerical value could be, let's say, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, depending upon a lot of factors, right? And that is what we need to sort of predict, right? So let's say if I place an order right here from Bangalore, from a particular restaurant, how much time it is going to take for the order to get delivered to my home. So now in machine learning, what happens that if you know the input, right? So as in the food items, let's say the restaurant, the location, as in the distance between the customer and the restaurant, right? And there could be a lot of other factors like quantity of food, quality, type of food. There could be a lot of factors, restaurant rating, restaurant past reviews and all, right? So all these inputs on the basis of this, right? We of course have an output, right? Because if you look at the past data, you will definitely get a proper, let's say, ETA time for all the past orders, right? Because of course we are assuming that they have gotten delivered, right? So I have the output, which is the time taken for the food to get delivered, and then I have the input, which is of course a lot of factors that can govern that output. So if I know the input and output, now machine learning, as in the important task in machine learning, is to figure out the brain, as mentioned here in the slide, as in we want to figure out the model, right? which which will help me sort of based on a certain input, it will help me get an output, right? So model training is in understanding or defining the parameters of this brain overall, right? So those parameters are obtained when we train a machine learning model on a particular combination of input and output, right? So that is how you sort of figure out the brain or the parameters of the model. Now, so once you know the brain, and now let's say for any future input, right? So let's say I figured out the brain as in the parameters, which parameters of, let's say, certain machine learning model, which will govern as in how much time it will take. So now what I can do, so for a future, let's say, order. So let's say I go ahead and place an order. So if I plug in the proper inputs, and of course, because I'm saying that my brain is already trained, it already has learned the parameters. So now on the basis of these two things, I can get the output. So this is what overall machine learning is in nutshell, right? So the important step first is to figure out the model itself, where you sort of define the parameters. So that is what we call in machine learning as model training. And then once you let's say deploy your model on a certain set of input to, let's say, predict an output, that is of course what we call as model prediction, right? So I hope this is clear to you guys. Can you please mention yes in the chat if this is clear? I'm just trying to talk about what is machine learning. That's it, right? I'm just trying to talk about that there. So we need to understand. So there is an input, there is a model, and then there is an output. Firstly, what we have is in our training data set, we know the input and output, and the job is to figure out the model, as in the parameters which will govern the model. And then once we have known that from the training data set, so now on any future test data set, what we can do is use the learned model and use a particular set of future input to predict the output. So awesome, guys. So let's move ahead. So now let's talk about what could be the major applications of machine learning at Zomato. So one could be menu digitization. So this is like pretty obvious if you guys think about it. So imagine restaurant. So there are like lakhs or millions of restaurants listed currently on Zomato, right? And every one of these restaurants, they would have, let's say, a paper menu, right? And for some restaurants, these menu, so some menu can be really big, some menu can be small, depending upon, of course, the restaurant, right? So now Zomato wants to, of course, list the menu, as in digitize the menu, right? So of course, when you're trying to look for a particular item, or let's say you go inside a particular restaurant on the Zomato app, right? So you're able to see what kind of food items this particular restaurant can, let's say, deliver or can serve, right? So if you go through, let's say, a manual route, right, where, let's say, a restaurant on their app, right, they upload a photo of the menu to Zomato and says that, hey, this is the paper menu, and I've taken a photo. Probably what you can do is you can employ a person who can sort of manually, let's say, manually list down the food or items or the dishes which this particular restaurant can deliver, right, or serve overall, right? So of course, if we go through a manual route where we employ a particular human to do this can be really tedious, right? Because let's say your menu can be really big, and every day there would be like at least 1,000 restaurants or more than that who are getting themselves listed on Zomato, right? So also to quicken this process, they need to digitize the menu, uh, so that the customers can sort of discover very quickly, okay, what kind of dishes this restaurant can serve, and then that can be integrated in the overall search, which can appear in my search results overall. So menu digitization is an important task, and this is achieved through, we'll talk about it, this is achieved through text detection, optical character recognition. So these are like very basic techniques. Next use case is personalized homepage restaurant listings, right? So whenever you open the Zomato app, you see a certain set of restaurants in a particular fashion, in a particular order, right? So who has defined that order, right? You never ask the Zomato to tell that, hey, I want this restaurant at the top. Of course, you can go ahead and search for a specific restaurant. But if you just scroll the home page, you can see the restaurants listed there in a particular fashion, right? And that particular order, right, that particular recommended restaurants, there's a lot of science which is going behind that, right? Which is very personalized for a particular customer or particular user, right? Where the Zomato is running a lot of really large scale recommended systems on regular basis to power the personalized feed, as in what kind of restaurants for a particular customer will be listed, right? So imagine what Zomato can do is for each customer, they can sort of rank the restaurants in a particular way and show them in that fashion, right? Next is increase in GMV and average order value, right? So now let's say you are you are in the order, right? So as in what I'm trying to say is, let's say you go ahead, select a restaurant and add your food to your cart, and you place the order, right? So of course, before that, you might have seen on the checkout page, Zomato suggests that, hey, you can also order this in addition to this. So let's say if I am ordering something like, let's say, lachha paratha and probably, let's say, butter chicken, they can suggest, okay, hey, why a lot of customers previously they had ordered, let's say, a gulab jamun along with it, right? Which is like a dessert, and everyone enjoys a dessert, right? So they would suggest that a lot of people they ordered this. So why don't you go ahead and do that, right? So what they try to do, they try to stick a lot of other additions, which let's say a customer can add to their cart, right? So apart from the base order which a customer is placing, why would they want to do it? So let's say even if they add a simple, let's say gulab jamun would, let's say 20 rupees or 30 rupees, right? So that increases the average order value, right? So AOV here means average order value, and uh, GMV also means gross merchant volume, right? So let's say if I'm ordering from a particular restaurant, and if these customizations if I include in my card as well, so it will of course increase my average order value. As in, I was supposed to pay, let's say for a particular food order, I was supposed to pay 200 rupees. But because they suggested this customizations and I liked it personally, I would add that to the card, and that would make it, let's say, 230 or 240, right? So that has increased the average order value. And then, so because the average order value has increased, this can actually increase the gross merchant value, as in the total amount of orders or the dollar value that's being received at a merchant or a restaurant level, right? So that is one use case. Next could be, let's say, predicting food preparation time, right? We asked this question earlier, but Zomato has to really tackle this question in a really serious way, right? So they would be applying a lot of science behind even predicting how much time is the food gonna take to prepare, right? Next is enhancing road detection, right? So you know that Zomato delivery partners, they are coming to your home to deliver your food, and they might be, let's say, following different routes overall, from the restaurant to your location to deliver the food, right? So for Zomato, it also becomes important to identify roads which might not be, let's say, available on even on Google Maps, right? Because these could be, let's say, very narrow roads, and but these Zomato delivery partners, they are, let's say, mostly localized, and they know the ins and outs of the city, and they know which roads they can avoid to avoid, let's say, traffic, and reach the destination in relatively quick time, right? So enhancing road detection is also one of a fairly popular use case at Zomato. Next would be DP grooming audit and compliance, right? So what DP is essentially your delivery partner. So let's say we took an example of whether a DP is wearing a mask, right? So this questions like these are really important in terms of making sure that their delivery partners are complying to what Zomato has set the standards, right? So are they wearing the mask? Are they groomed or not, right? So what a DP would do, they would take a photo, and then the Zomato machine learning model would basically have a look at the uploaded image or selfie, and basically classify whether this delivery partner is groomed or not, right? If it's groomed, well, they will allow the DP to sort of go ahead and accept the order. But if they're not compliant or they're not well groomed, Zomato would say that, hey, you're not complying with us. I will not let you accept this order. Right? So that could be a really popular use case. All right. Right. So of course we are getting a lot of questions, which is great. So let's look at the first machine learning use case, which is menu digitization. So you have your paper menu, which, let's say, the restaurant would upload, let's say, in their app, and what would happen then? Then this photo or image will, let's say, go to the Zomato system, right? As in their Zomato backend, and they would be sort of running a service which basically applies text detection and optical character recognition on these images, and convert them to a digitized menu, right? So essentially taking a simple menu image and creating, let's say, a simple database of the records, where each record could, let's say, pertain to a single food item, right? And of course, they would also want to probably identify or take up, let's say, an image which might be already available on the paper menu. So they would also want to show the image against that food item, right? So this is one very important use case uh, which Zomato would be using, definitely, because otherwise their operations would become really intensive. They would need to employ so many people to actually do this task manually, right? But now, because they have all these really advanced machine learning models at their disposal, what they would do, they would just fire that model on a particular image to digitize it, and then show that in the menu whenever a customer looks for a particular restaurant or looks for their dishes. All right. Uh, so this is the basic. So I'll not go into the details, right? Because so overall, what Zomato can do, so of course they can use simple OCR techniques. They can also use advanced image recognition to identify proper images, let's say, and map them to a particular food too, right? And they're of course doing a lot of really good text detection. So that is one major use case. The next is personalized homepage listings, right? So of course, why do you see the restaurants in that particular fashion, right? So if you ask that question, you probably get an let's say a reasonable answer if you understand this in detail, right? So it could depend on a lot of factors. It could depend on the user behavior, which includes, let's say, what kind of orders that they have made in the past, what's their location, what's their preference, do they mostly eat North Indian food, do they also eat South Indian food, depending on their preferences, do they like continental or do they like Indian food. So depending on a lot of user behavior, Zomato would let's say power or use a really advanced recommender model to give you the list of restaurants in that particular order in that particular fashion, right? So of course, it's based on user preferences, recommendations for popular dishes at a particular restaurant. So these could be recommendations that they would be making, right? So even when you go inside the restaurant, right? So let's say if you click on a particular restaurant like truffles, right? So you go inside them. So there also you see that on the top, they recommend that, hey, you can order these popular dishes because they are like really popular at the restaurant. So of course, they would not be employing really advanced recommendations there. It could probably be, let's say, listed based on the popularity of those dishes, right? And then of course, recommendations could be driven based on customer reviews and ratings. That's actually really important. If the reviews are not good, Zomato wouldn't encourage or promote those restaurants, but they are doing, let's say, really well. They would definitely show those on the feed, right? And of course, the recommendation can also be can also depend on the time of day and as in when you are ordering, right? So of course, there could be a lot of different ways to achieve this, right? So of course, a very basic way is to use something called collaborative filtering, and this is something that we already have taught in our curriculum. But they can employ something like collaborative filtering to essentially list, as in recommend, okay, these are the restaurants from where you can order food. So collaborative here essentially means that they would see what kind of customers are similar to your persona and what kind of, let's say, restaurants they are, let's say, ordering from. So on the basis of that, Zomato would show you those restaurants, right? So in a way, it's collaborative, as in if there is some similarity of, let's say, a particular user to, let's say, nearby users, so Zomato can use that particular technique to recommend the restaurants overall, right? But so of course, they can use something like content filtering, where they can use the description of the food items or the restaurant to also do that, or probably they can also apply a mix of content and collaborative filtering to build a hybrid recommender system, right? But nowadays they have actually moved past that, and they are using something called a lambda mart implementation of a light GBM, right? So light GBM is a really popular model which was actually introduced pretty recently, as in only 4 or 5 years back. So GBM is a short form for gradient boosting machine, and it's an advanced type of decision tree model algorithm overall. So they're using a tweaked version of this light GBM called light GBM ranker over, right? So which ranks the restaurant for a particular customer, right? So they would, for a particular customer, they would have, let's say, some score associated with each restaurant, which is in their vicinity where that particular order can be delivered. And on the basis of that, they're implementing this algorithm, and customers are seeing those restaurants in their feed overall, right? So, right. So, cool. All right. So, so now the third use case, we actually discussed about it, right? So how can Zomato predict food preparation time, right? So if you were the owner of this business, this question would be really critical for you, right? You want to understand how much time a particular food will take to get prepared, right? And because that is one of the critical components of the estimated delivery time, right? So let's say you are seeing 40 minutes ETA. So where food preparation time could be, let's say, 25 minutes, and then your 15 minutes could be the delivery travel time, right? So of course, your total delivery time consists of two components. One is your food preparation time, and the second is your delivery travel time, right? Delivery travel time, again, of course, could depend on factors like traffic and other bits, of course, and the distance between the restaurant and the customer. But one key component is the food preparation time, as in how much time will the restaurant take to prepare the food order. And this, and for this also, I would not want to go into the details, but just to give you, let's say, a motivation that they uses. So they use a lot of really good advanced machine learning model, something called LSTM based deep learning model, right? So LSTM is again short for a popular deep learning algorithm, which is long short-term memory, right? So it is a tweaked version of RNN, if you ever heard about it. And they're using this to actually regress or forecast the time taken, right? So here, what's the unit they're predicting? The unit would be in minutes, right? So what's the X minutes that a particular restaurant will take to prepare a particular food order, and then of course, that depends on a lot of factors, such as the quantity of dishes that we were discussing on the Padlet board, right? Where we got so many inputs from you guys. It can also depend on the type of dishes order, right? Because some dishes could be like pretty straightforward to cook, some could be like really tricky, and that might increase time of preparation. It can also depend on the restaurant behavior, their time of day of week. It can also depend on the footfall in the restaurant, right? As in how many orders that a particular restaurant is receiving, right? So if they are seeing a surge in demand, so probably the food preparation time can increase. But let's say if they're not seeing a lot of demand, so they should be able to quickly prepare your food overall, right? So awesome. Cool. So now a really important use case again is enhancing road detection. So of course, so there is a basic Google Maps data that Zomato would be using, but now they also are getting data from the routes which are being covered by all these delivery partners for each order, right? So let's say a particular delivery partner, they follow a certain route and they, let's say, went against the suggested Google Map route. So Zomato would get that data and they would try to model and see, okay, what are like these small, let's say, routes that they can suggest a particular delivery partner to follow, right? So there could be like very small streets which, let's say, Google wouldn't be probably showing, but Zomato can, because these delivery partners, they have seen the locale overall, they know as in all the streets and roads, and probably that information can help them augment the overall let's say uh, so this can help them overall sort of understand, okay, which paths are like being traversed by these delivery partners, and that can be sort of augmented for the future orders, where a new delivery partner can see that, okay, I can take this route, this will not take a lot of time, but this is, let's say, not probably available on Google Maps. I'm sure Google Maps will have a really good uh, data around the location, around the streets, and they have really good mappings. But I strongly feel that based on the location data of, let's say, Zomato delivery partners, Zomato would have even an advanced, let's say, understanding of very of roads, streets, and small, let's say, or constructed pathways, which can be used by delivery partners overall, right? So that can improve the time as well, right? So this was, of course, one use case. The last use case, and this is not, of course, exhaustive, right? There could be a lot of other use cases, but of course, due to constraint in time, we're not going to, of course, cover all of them. And this is, of course, an image taken from Zomato side directly. So we discussed about this basic requirement, right? That Zomato would want their delivery partners to be really groomed and be compliant with their standards, right? And this became really popular since the onset of pandemic, right? And where they were sort of mandated to wear masks. If, let's say, a particular, so what they do, a single delivery partner, before accepting the order, let's say, they click a selfie and they submit the selfie to Zomato. Now this selfie or image goes to the Zomato system. Now, what Zomato does is basically they fire a simple face recognition model, as in, let's say, mask recognition model, to understand whether a particular delivery partner has wore a mask or not. If they have worn the mask, they can go online. If they haven't done so, if the model sort of recognizes that mask, they have not worn the mask, they will essentially block them for, let's say, 1 hour or probably for a certain time, so that they make sure that these delivery partners, they are complying with their policies, they are properly following whatever Zomato has recommended them, because eventually the brand of Zomato is being carried by these delivery partners all the way to the customer's home, right? So if these partners are not professional, right, and this would also be a use case, for example, in the case of urban company, right, where professionals would visit your home to give you certain service, right? So if the mask audit is, let's say, unsuccessful in this case, Zomato would, let's say, block them for an hour, because they want to encourage that sort of behavior, right? And again, how is this being achieved? So they're using deep learning models, which include your convolution neural networks, to and they classify whether there is a mask or not, right? So classification could have, let's say, two values only, if so, mask or, let's say, not mask, something like that, right? So that's a classification problem, and it can be solved something using convolution neural network. If you don't know about it, don't worry. We have taught these things in very in great detail in our curriculum. So probably you can go through that. But overall, the idea is machine learning, or even advanced machine learning models like deep learning models. They're like really prominent in terms of making sure that Zomato is able to do its day-to-day operations seamlessly, right? So they could have lakhs of delivery partners, they would have lakhs of restaurants, they would have millions of customers ordering daily on their app, right? So how would they handle such a large scale things in their system? So these are the models which essentially drive all this sort of all these major features which we sort of discussed today, right? And if I quickly just go back and highlight, right? So we covered all these important use cases, and again, just to reiterate, these are not exhaustive in nature, and there could be other popular use cases, but I felt that, okay, these are like really relatable, and that's why I put them here. So cool, guys. So I think so this is overall I wanted to sort of discuss in terms of how Zomato applies machine learning to help help themselves grow their business, to help make sure that their day-to-day operations are being done seamlessly overall, right? So it might look very straightforward on the first look, right? It's just a simple app. I just need to order a food, it will come to me, right? But if you bake in so much of personalization, it's eventually going to win the trust of the customers, and then eventually help Zomato build build a brand, which we have seen, right? So Zomato is definitely, and they went public recently, right? All right. So cool. I think this was more or less on the Zomato side of things. So now we want to talk a bit about AlmaBetter, right? So I know you guys have come in abundance here, and I'm really delighted to see so many of you here. So just wanted to talk a bit about AlmaBetter and how we are trying to how we are trying to improve the state of education and employment in our country, right? So we are, of course, a community first learning platform where students can they study in groups, so they're learning with each other and getting motivated from each other. They are doing projects in teams, so they're learning to adapt in a cross functional environment, so they're learning with different sets of peers, uh, through which they can learn a lot of different things, right? And then, of course, they're getting ready for jobs. So we do not just educate people, we help them also get jobs pretty quickly, right? So that is what we do. But community is at the core of AlmaBetter overall. um, so I think, Manjul, do you want to go ahead and yeah, discuss, or should I go ahead?
Hey, hi, Vikas. Definitely, I can discuss. I think I'm pretty much audible, right?
Cool, cool, cool. All right. So, guys, Manjul from our team is the head of admissions, and he is going to sort of discuss about AlmaBetter. So, meanwhile, I'll try to answer questions which you guys have posted in Q&A. So, please bear with us for a while. We are going to share a really good surprise with you at the end of the session. So, yeah, please stay tuned. It will not take really long, probably like 10-15 minutes at max, and then we'll sort of close this session, right? So yeah, please stay tuned. Yeah, Manjul, please go ahead.
All right. So, good afternoon to all. And as already been discussed about, the machine learning part when it comes to the Zomato application, it's important for all of us to understand that this particular field, it has a lot of opportunities which is waiting for all of us. But it's again important that we should understand that we need a platform actually, not only to upskill ourselves, but also to understand and get ourselves guided about how these opportunities could be catered by us, right? And this is where, AlmaBetter comes into picture. As already been discussed by Vikas, we not only teach you all, but we also make sure that we are preparing you for the placement services as well, right? So now coming to that particular part, why one should choose AlmaBetter, right? First and foremost thing that here at AlmaBetter, we always have one thing that we do, and that is we try to make sure that whatever we are teaching to you is industry relevant, right? And that too from basic level. So if you have no prior experience in coding, or if you're not even from the technical background, you should not worry about that. All right, we will be teaching you everything from scratch. It's like if you're trying to form a sentence, we will be teaching you everything from the alphabets only, that is ABCD, right? Second thing, we will be having like 100 plus live classes that will be with us, where you will be having a direct access to coordinate with the instructors that we have. Just like, we are having this session where Vikas was trying to, tell you about the machine learning and its applications in the Zomato app. In the very same way, during the weekdays, 4 days in a week, we do have our live sessions as well, right? Where you can actually directly, get in touch with the instructor, get yourself clarified over your topics, your doubts, get your answer clear from them. And all our instructors, they are basically from the tech companies only. They're all working professionals. So they give you that exposure which is being required. All right. Other than the live lectures, you will also be getting the recorded form of that as well, right? which will stay with you for lifetime. That means even if you're doing your job, maybe as a data scientist, maybe as a data analyst, maybe as a machine learning engineer, you will be more than able to get all your doubts clarified, right, while you're working only. Other than that, only just because you have live lectures and recorded lectures, these are some theoretical things that you will be getting. But during the interviews, practical implementation is also required, right? Just a moment, guys. Huh? All right. So, yeah, I was talking about the capstone project thing that will be required for the practical implementation of the theoretical knowledge that is being provided during these live lectures. And obviously, you will be getting the recorded lectures of that as well, right? Again, if you're going through certain topics, if you're going through certain modules, you will have doubts as well. So we even do have like doubt resolution sessions for the same. All right. Now, coming to the last part, other than doubt resolution session, we also do have like mentorship sessions as well that we provide to our learners, right? Now, what does this mentorship session does? It's important for all of you to understand that not only, a practical implementation is required, but also it is required for all of you to understand how these things could be used in the real-time world. All right.
Manjul, can you share the screen? I think it's sort of stuck. Yeah,
No,
please.
no, I think it's the internet that is lagging a bit. I'm sharing it. Just give me like 30 seconds. Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
I can share, I think, if you need any help.
Yeah, you can do it because
Cool,
it's just
cool.
taking a bit more time.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. All right. So I hope, yeah. So yeah, just excuse us guys for yeah. Cool. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, Manju.
Cool. So I was talking about the mentorship session. Again, guidance from the people who are already working in this segment becomes extremely important. Zomato is using certain kind of tools in machine learning. Vikash talked about them recently. So now you're pretty much updated about that. So if a particular question pops out from this industry only, you're at least aware about what kind of problem is being faced by this industry and what kind of solutions are being provided by the data scientists in this particular field, right? And that is why it's important to get yourself guided through these mentors. Now, once all these module is being covered, right, from the lectures to the capstone projects to the competency challenges, it's important for all of you to get yourself molded for the interview process. And this is where our dedicated career coach comes into picture. He will not only prepare you for the interviews, but will also help you in designing your resume as well. Resume building, again, a very important part. Working on your soft skills, again, a very important part. And again, what kind of questions could be asked in your interviews, preparing yourself for those interviews becomes important as well. All right. And finally, once you are pretty much prepared with all these interview wala part, you can start giving the real-time interviews, and you don't have to take your CV and outreach to multiple companies. We will be guiding you through that as well, since we have like 500 plus hiring partners with us. So what we do is that we make sure that you are getting the right set of opportunities where we are just matching whatever CTC is there up to your skill sets, right? So you can directly apply, into the 500 plus hiring partners that we have and get yourself a short placement guarantee of minimum 5 lakhs per annum. We can move to the next sheet, with us. Now, the process is very simple. You directly have to visit our website, that is AlmaBetter. You have to sign up there, right? You have to pay a registration amount, enroll yourself. You have to just sign up yourself. You have to enroll yourself there only. And once you get yourself enrolled by paying a registration amount, you can start your learning journey. That is the 30 weeks program that we offer here at our AlmaBetter platform. And you can get yourself certified here only. Now, once you have completed all your modules, like your competency challenges, like your capstone projects, after that, you sign an income sharing agreement with us. Now, what is this? This is just a document, right? And it's a document where it is being mentioned that you only have to pay us our fees once you get yourself placed. Even the registration fee, which you are paying, is being refunded directly back to you, right? Once you complete the program and sign this ISA part with us, and after that, we start preparing you for the placement services as well. Once you start getting your self-placement services, with the help of the dedicated career coach, the mock interviews, along with, every other soft skills that is being taken care of, you end up applying for job roles at, maybe as a data scientist, maybe as a data analyst, maybe as a machine learning engineer, maybe as a data engineer, and get yourself placed in any of the companies at a minimum package of 5 lakhs per annum. Once you have this package in your hand, and once you even start getting your salary, then only you have to pay us our fees. That too in installments. I think till now pretty much is cleared. Okay. Anyone, anything that you want to ask? Aman Singh has a question that what about internship when I choose AlmaBetter program? Well, Aman, throughout this training module, most of the times you will be working on certain projects which are live in nature. Those will be having live data sets, right? So, after completion of each of these projects, you will be getting certification from our end as well. So, instead of focusing only about the internship part, one should focus on covering all these projects, right? And getting ourselves prepared for the full-time jobs that would be offered to us post the completion of this program. All right. Coming to the learning activities part, obviously, learning activity is not only about reading or writing something. It's also about getting yourself engaged in various number of activities. And that we do here at AlmaBetter, right? We have already being stated, we have live lectures where you can directly, coordinate with the instructors who are obviously from the tech companies. Then you will have projects and assignments for the practical knowledge. You will have group discussions. Obviously, when you all will be enrolled with us, we will be dividing you into certain groups, right? And where you can have your discussions about a particular topic. You can work in a particular group on a particular project as well. You can have many other activities done in that particular group, so that what happens is that even if someone is facing a particular problem, even that particular group tries to sort out all the problems if a particular learner is facing. That is why we have this group discussions, and this group discussion also helps you in forming a peer network. In your group, you might have people who are fresher, you might have people who have good years of experience. So you just never know, the person who has that kind of experience can help you in giving you certain references or providing you certain more information about how this particular domain is working. All right. Now, these were the part of courses, like you have certain lectures going on, you have activities going on, you have group discussions going on. Other than that, sometimes you need certain guidance, like in data science only, there are multiple roles that are available in the market. Data analyst is one of them, data scientist is there, data engineering is there, machine learning is there. So one need to have this clarity in their mind that which particular job role is apt for that particular person. And for that, our mentors comes into picture. He will tell you about what kind of job roles you are completely fitting in, basis upon the strength and the weaknesses that you will have in this particular program, right? So you will have like mentorship sessions that you can obviously book 1:1. You will have guest lectures, like today Vikas had this with you about the machine learning part in Zomato. We have these master classes. Other than that, also you will have a lot of guest lectures just to give you the exposure of this particular field. You will have like community participations, where all of you should be involved in certain hackathons or maybe certain community projects, just to give you that idea that how this industry is changing and what kind of new sets of problem this industry is facing. All right. And finally, these all things will be done in the 30 weeks of the program that we are providing here at AlmaBetter. And post that, Obviously, we will start preparing you for the placement services with the help of the dedicated career coach. You will start getting yourself qualified for AlmaBetter. There are only two basic eligibility criteria for AlmaBetter. One is you need to complete all the capstone projects that will be there in this particular module of 30 weeks. And again, there will be like competency challenges just to check your theoretical understanding. And once you clear all these things, you will be qualifying for the AlmaBetter thing, right? AlmaBetter is nothing but just the placement service word that is being used here at AlmaBetter, right? All right. Now, a lot of students have this curiosity that, we say that we have like 500 plus hiring companies with us. So what are those? So if you can see the screen, you will find out that we have both the tech companies, which are from the product based as well as service based. Amazon is a huge name. Disney plus Hotstar, it has grown and grown immensely in our country. Same goes for Citibank, Uber, Swiggy, Cred, Paisa Bazaar, Flipkart. They all are like, companies that have boomed in, last 3-4 years. They have lots of opportunities and they have a lot of money, right? So you can expect good placement from these companies, right? If you're from the banking background, obviously we have like JP Morgan, Razorpay, Paisa Bazaar, Citibank. If you're from the technical IT background, obviously you will have like Cognizant is there, Capgemini is there. If you're from a non-tech profile, you have all these companies you can eye off, right? Because you're not limited to particular, particular set of sector. You have, e-commerce with you, you have like banking companies with you, you have like companies like Disney plus Hotstar or Amazon, who, they're big tech companies who are there in the market. So we do have tie-ups with all these companies, right? That is why it was being said that we have like 500 plus hiring partners with us. So you don't have to take your resume and go in the market and search as an anonymous candidate for the jobs in the market. We will be guiding you and we'll make sure that you're getting the best CTC based on your particular skill sets that you will be learning. Again, a very interesting question that pops up in our mind is, what will be my salary, right, post the completion of this program? So trust me, 5 is the minimum that we assure you, that nothing will go below 5. But most of our learners, they do have the salary range that will be ranging in between 7 to 10 lakhs per annum. If you can just see the screen, you find out that most of our learners, who graduate from our end, who complete the program from our end, they start at a minimum package of 7 to 8 lakhs per annum, like 29% of them. If you are much more disciplined, if you have worked really hard, if you have dedicated yourself, even the salary range of 8 to 9 is possible. Like 37% of the students are getting the salary range of 8 lakhs per annum to 9 lakhs per annum, right? Harshit Tiwari has a question out here, that salary breakup for fresher. This is the salary breakup of a fresher only. If you're an experienced campaigner, obviously you can look for hike, but this is a salary breakdown of a fresher only. So if you're a fresher, you just need to do one thing. You just have to work hard in a disciplined way, and you will fall in this category of 8 to 9 lakhs per annum, just like the 37% of the candidates, right? Even there are like multiple number of candidates who even get a package of like 10 lakhs per annum, right? You might be feeling that, okay, this is a very less number, but still the possibility is there. If 3% of the students can get more than 10 lakhs per annum, even you might end up getting the very same thing if you follow the process well here. Sagar has a question that, can we complete it within 3 months? I think, Sagar, it takes, a minimum of, 3 to 5 months to complete this particular program. Overall, the program is designed for 30 weeks. But again, you have to follow a particular process. You just can't rush that particular process, I believe. So if it takes time to complete a particular module or to teach you something, it will take time. So there is no point of rushing it. You just follow the regular classes that is being made, and we will make sure that we prepare you 100% for the interviews, because I still believe that there is no point going into an interview unprepared or maybe confused. How many hours per week? Every day, like there will be like 2 hours of classes that will be happening. So per week, if you're saying, maybe 10 to 12 hours is more than enough if you're looking forward to complete this course. But talking about the instructors and the mentors part, one thing that you will find out here is that most of our instructors and mentors, right, they are from top tech companies. We have all heard about Oracle, huge tech company. Google, it's something that we use on a daily basis. Walmart, again, a very big e-commerce company. Microsoft, a tech giant. LinkedIn, these are the companies that the instructors that we always make sure that they are working professional and have their experience in this domain of data science only, because as already being stated by me multiple of times, not only the practical and the theoretical knowledge that is important, even the exposure about what is currently happening in this sector is also important, and who else other than the people who are already working in this industry could provide you about the latest updates, what is happening in this industry and how it is changing and what kind of opportunities does it hold. So that is why we have our instructors and mentors who are from these tech companies. You will also find few of them from the man companies, the top tech product based companies, that is Meta, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google. All right, success stories. There are like multiple success stories. I will strongly recommend all of you to go to our LinkedIn page of AlmaBetter. You will find out that every day, few of our students are getting placed. They are from technical background, they are from non-technical background. Some of them are pretty freshers, some of them have gap years as well. Try to reach out to them, try to get in touch with them, try to understand about the insights of this entire program, right? You will understand that how we here at AlmaBetter are helping students evolve themselves in their respective careers, right? So a lot of people, they have this question that what if I'm not from the technical background? Will this program help me? I would say yes, this will. The only thing that you require here is your dedication towards this course. If you have that thing in your mind, I have seen a lot of people who are even from the arts background getting that switch into the technical domain, that is the data science or maybe web development as well, right? So you just need to have that hunger to learn, and this will be done. Rest of the things will be cared from our end only. So I think, Vikash, we are ready for the student dashboard walkthrough from here. We have few questions here.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you, Manjul. And I hope you guys were able to understand about our program offerings. So now, without any delay, guys, let's have a look at the AlmaBetter dashboard, and let's try to understand as in how we are sort of providing you resources to access and at which point of time, right? So what I'll do, I'll simply go to almabetter.com, and then I'll simply sign in. In fact, let me just do one bit. So what I'll do, I'll go to almabetter.com, right? I hope my screen is visible. You simply need to sign in, right? And if you have signed up, let's say once, you'll be taken to, let's say, the Grow platform. And if you look at it, right? So the first thing that you can see is the idea of goal, right? As in the program that you want to pursue with us. So it could be, let's say, data science or web development. I think there was a question that someone was sort of confused about whether to do data science or web development. So a simple, let's say, a simple rule that I would suggest is, if you if you really like programming and you really want to do coding all day, and you want to solve problems through code, so I feel web development, or let's say you want to build web apps or you want to build websites, web development would be a good choice for you. But you are interested in, let's say, if you're interested in programming, if you're interested in business, and you want to work at the intersection of two, right? So where you want to do a lot of business strategy along with let's say programming and other bits, right? So that is where I think that is when I think you should pursue data science, right? So it depends upon, as in what kind of motivation you have. Like, let's say if you enjoy programming, but if you enjoy too much, as in you love to, let's say, code websites and build web apps, then web development is definitely for you. But for data science, if you want to still be, let's say, involved in the business strategy, you want to and parallelly do programming and build models, so that's where I think you can choose for data science. All right. So now this is the idea of goal, and this is the home screen that you can see here. We list sort of everything. So this is your main program. So let's say if I click on this continue learning, So this is my course page, and this is where I think you will be spending like 70-80% of your time, right? So if you see, the first program is first module is your orientation. So even before we sort of start teaching you Python, we want to basically develop a basic aptitude in you, which is around, let's say, data interpretation, logical reasoning, right? So let's say if you want to become a data scientist, and if you're not able to even, let's say, interpret a graph or chart, right, then probably the road could be difficult, right? So you need to have that understanding, right? If I'm able to, let's say, understand a particular graph, so that is like a very basic foundation or a prerequisite in a way that you need to sort of know, right? So that we are teaching in our program orientation. And once we have done that, we are teaching you Python, right? Where we are teaching you all the basic Python data structures. We are talking about loops and iterations. Then we are delving into functions and methods, right? We are talking about production grade programming. And then and in the next few chapters, we talk about NumPy and Pandas, and we take a ride towards exploring data analysis, and we sort of wrangle different data sets and understand how we can do a simple exploratory data analysis on a given data set, right? And at the end, you'll need to do a capstone project, and which I'll come to. Next is your, of course, analytics framework. So this is where we'll teach you Tableau, business KPIs, Excel fundamentals, and then, of course, in depth, we are teaching you SQL, right? So there are a lot of practice that you need to do, because SQL and Python, they're arguably like the most important tools in the arms of, let's say, a data analyst or a data scientist. So that's why these are like things which are pretty important, and we place a lot of emphasis on those, right? And next is your maths. So maths is where you'll, let's say, learn your basics of, let's say, machine learning, as in the basic maths which is required for doing machine learning, right? So you learn about calculus, linear algebra, and then there are 2-3 chapters on probability and statistics. So specifically, there is a chapter on descriptive statistics. There is on inferential statistics. So this is the module which will prepare your foundations so that you become a smart, let's say, problem solver, right? So if you are able to statistically, let's say, do some analysis, so those things are actually, they form the foundation of machine learning, and that's pretty much required, right? Next is machine learning. So this is where we are teaching you core machine learning, and this is the fundamental concepts in machine learning that you should know. So there are lessons on like linear regression, logistic regression, right? And then there are a lot of other advanced algorithms we are teaching, like decision trees. There's a section on model explainability and all, right? Cool. So, and then we are covering a lot of non-linear algorithms, right? So you can explore for yourself once you sign up on the website. There are unsupervised algorithms. There is this capstone project on classification. There is a chapter on NLP as well. There is a chapter on recommender system. In fact, the recommender system that we talked about, how Zomato uses it, you'll learn it from these chapters. Then there is a section on time series analysis, and then, of course, this module ends with a capstone project on unsupervised ML. All right. And then there are different specializations that you can take. So let's say you want to get into, let's say, business analytics, because you want to because you have, let's say, learned SQL and Python, and you want to get be involved in the business, and want to, let's say, join them as a data analyst or risk analyst, or even as a business analyst. So we have curated all these fund essentials that you can look for, right? Visualization principles, BI platforms, right? So a lot of really smart chapters that we have added in this specialization. Next is, let's say, data engineering. So if you want to really get into the engineering side of data science, right? So that is where you can pick up this particular specialization, and where we're talking about data engineering essentials, data modeling, and then there is a dedicated chapter on data management, where we are talking about a particular cloud platform. So we have taken an example of AWS, which we are using internally, and that will help you get an idea of about how to set up your data pipeline in the backend, so that it can serve your analytics team or probably your data science team, and drive other let's say, business requirements, right? And the third is, of course, your advanced ML. And here we have focus on advanced algorithms. We have focus on deep learning, deep neural networks. And then there are advanced NLP concepts, advanced CV concepts, and some optimization algorithms, which are yet to be added here. So now let's say if I go to a particular lesson, right? So if I go to the particular lesson, so you can see that there is a video and there is a read, right? So if I, let's say, open an enrolled learner view, so that is just for a free learner, as in we have provided a lot of free resources for you guys to sort of navigate. And now if I go to learn, right? So if I click on continue learning, so I can, let's say, go to any particular lesson. So let's take this example, introduction to list. So here the initial set of activities would be on learning on mastering the concept. So that will be, let's say, video or a collab notebook. And you can also view the collab notebook by clicking on this, right? So you can scroll these, right? And then once your learning is complete, then there's assessment activities that you can do, right? So for example, in this case, we have a coding assessment and we have built this in-house ID where, let's say in this particular assessment, there are 5 questions. And if you solve those, so here you can submit this. So your code would be evaluated against a lot of test cases and you will be auto graded, right? So this is what we have built. And if you look at the algorithms, look at the languages. So we are supporting all these. So specifically within data science, we are providing support for Python and SQL. But for web dev guys, we have support for JavaScript, React, Java as well, right? So we'll keep consolidating this. Now, so there is an activity on quiz. So you can, of course, quickly click on these bars and hop on to different activity. You can also use this where you can move from activity to activity, right? Without getting your view. And one more thing, you can click on this lesson right here and you see the entire module, right? So you don't even need to sort of go back and then let's say move to new lesson, right? So you can keep on, let's say, moving here from activity to activity. And then of course, you can jump to, let's say, any lesson within this module from here, right? So let's say this is list comprehension. Now, there is a discussion forum associated with each lesson that is where you can go ahead and, let's say, post a topic. So let's say if you have doubt or you want to discuss something around this particular lesson, you can go ahead and post a topic. Okay. So and then then our team of subject matter experts, they will resolve your query within an hour, right? So they're pretty prompt. And then you can use this feedback to provide proper feedback on whether this content was easy to understand, so that we get the feedback from our students and we keep improving upon it, right? Right. And then you can, of course, go to full screen mode as well. So this is the course bit, right? I hope you guys are aware. So now there is this practice element, which is meant for your practice. So you can go ahead and solve any coding problem. So there are like tons of questions that we have provided. There are also coding assessments that you can do. So which are like bundled coding assessments. So there are multiple problems within an assessment and you can take hints, you can track your submissions here. So a lot of interesting things, right? So let's say I want to, so we also support SQL. So you can do, and you can see all these tables which are available here. And we do not, of course, show test cases, but this is important for you to sort of understand whether your query is getting passed against test cases, right? And accordingly, you will be sort of graded. And then there are quiz assessments that you can take. Now, there are tons of projects that you can do on our platform. So, of course, within each category, only one project is required, and which is of course mentioned in the AlmaX eligibility, which I'll show. For example, let's say if I want to do a project on this Netflix movies and TV shows clustering, right? So this is an unsupervised ML project. So you can see the details of the project here. You can see the evaluation criteria, what things you need to submit, a sample presentation video, because you'll be required to present a video. So you'll get an idea as in how do I record and what should be the content of the video. And then there is a huge checklist that you need to do. You need to simply click on the submit your project, enter your project link, enter your video link, and you are done. And once you have submitted, what happens? It goes to the evaluator, And if the evaluator has evaluated and it's approved, so you'll see the approved status here. You'll also see your feedback, and you can probably see a lot of reasons as well as in the detailed feedback. So of course, this is a dummy submission I had made, and this was on hold, right? But let's say if your project was well evaluated, you will be able to see a proper feedback, and where you will see, as in for a particular rubric, how much did you score out of, let's say, 10, right? Now, so this is the AlmaX. So AlmaX is again a really broad, it has a really broad curriculum where we are focusing on your portfolio building, where we are helping you build your resume, LinkedIn profile, GitHub profile, your even personal website, and also probably, let's say, your YouTube profile too, right? Because these things really catch the attention of the recruiters, and we encourage our students to do so. Our students also go through a lot of business communication, right? Because especially in data science, communication is really important. If you're not able to express your thoughts, if you're not able to articulate yourself, then you'll not be able to impress your interviewers, and you'll not be able to get the job, right? So this is also important, right? So even though you're not, let's say, very well in communication, don't worry. We are focusing on, let's say, strengthening your communications from day one, right? So of course, this is a specific module within AlmaX, but we are focusing on it from day one. So we are, let's say, identifying students who are not, let's say, really well in English communication, or let's say overall communication. So we are providing them preparatory modules to hone up those skills, right? So it's not only the technical skills that are going to win you. It's also your communication skills. It's also your oratory skills, where you are able to combine and express your thoughts in a much better way, right? So in AlmaX, you'll be going through more than 40-50 mock interviews with expert career coaches, and you'll be able to prepare well and become job ready, right? Once that happens, we'll share your profile with our hiring partners, and then eventually you'll have your interviews and you'll get the job, right? There is a mentorship a platform that we have built. So for example, you're starting your journey, let's say this week, right? And you want to plan out or seek guidance from a mentor, right? So that you can plan out your learning journey. You can understand what needs to be done, what should be your method, what should be your approach. So what you can do, you can go ahead and book a mentor session. So let's say you want to seek placement guidance, you can go ahead and book this, right? You can move to next and book, and once you have booked this, it will go to, let's say, your mentor. Mentor will accept your session, and they will accordingly have the discussion with you, right? So this also helped us. This is our support forum, right? So we have a huge knowledge base where you can, let's say, search any query, right? So let's say I want to search about, let's say, AlmaX, right? So I can get a lot of articles on AlmaX. There is now the forums, which are essentially a place for doing all the technical discussions, right? So knowledge base will have mostly, let's say, articles on not only technical concepts, but also program related or job related, but forums is specifically for discussing technical topics, right? Next is, so you can see your performance as well. So this is the performance tracker. So you can see your progress with respect to your cohort, and let's say probably star students and AlmaX students, so that you know whether you're doing well or not, and how you can sort of do a simple course correction, right? So we are showing these progress on at various levels, like daily quiz, competency challenge, capstone projects, and stuff like that, right? Now, the most important thing, as in which is at the core of our entire platform, is the community, right? Because we really understand our students, and we understand that it's not possible at all to just keep learning all day, right? That's totally exhausting, and it can actually take a toll on your mental health, right? So we provide a space for our students to connect with their peers, to interact with their peers, and have a fun time, right? So probably you spend, let's say, maybe 2-3 hours studying, but probably spend 15-30 minutes on the community to interact with your peers, or maybe spend some fun time, right? So for example, there is a space called Chill Space, where students are sharing, let's say, a lot of memes, and these are like really fun memes, and fun place to be around, right? So of course, there are a lot of other groups on the basis of which where let's say you can discover other information like this one, which is hired, right? This is where we share on daily basis our students who are getting placed, right? Now, one more important thing that I wanted to show you, right, in terms of networking and how you can find your peers quickly, right? So you can see this filters here, right? So let's say I am from Patna. So what I can do, I can search Patna in city, and now I can identify everyone who is from that city. So let's say I would want to connect with them. So I, like Shivam, who was our alumni. So I can, let's say, want to connect with him. So I can go ahead. So of course, I am connected with him earlier, and you can see their details as in what's their basic profile, and you can also go to their LinkedIn profile and know more about them, right? So this is the place where you can sort of network with your peers and have a really good time, right? Additionally, of course, here you can see your account, you can see your certificates that you have earned, and you can do a lot of things with your certificates. So you can add them quickly as a credential on LinkedIn, right? So like I can simply quickly add this to LinkedIn and this will get added as a credential, right? I can also, let's say if let's say I have submitted a capstone project, it took me, let's say, a week to do, and that has been well evaluated and approved. I want to, let's say, share a certificate because I want to share with the community that, hey, I've done a project. So you can also do that, and you can simply share over LinkedIn or Twitter, and basically expand your network, right? Because people who see that you're doing well in data science, they would want to be part of your network. So it's a good way to, yeah, flaunt your accomplishments on net other social networks, right? And then you can see your program information. So like in this case, I'm enrolled in cohort Jerusalem for data science. I can see the status of all cohorts which are currently running, right? So in case, let's say if you lag behind or you fall sick, right, and you want to jump cohorts, so you can do that, right? So let's take an example. So I am in cohort Jerusalem. I click on this so I can see the activity. So I can see that, okay, on 6th March, I'm going to study random variables. But for, let's say, for some reason, I started in Python. I was in cohort Jerusalem, but then I was not able to follow because my work required a lot of time commitment. My college had, let's say, exams, or probably there was a lot of other things. And you were consumed and you were not able to do that. So what you can do, you can sort of move to let's say a later cohort. So like I can move to this cohort Dubai who are just in the very early stage of their Python module. And let's say on the last topic that they were taught was tuple sets and dictionaries. So if you are, let's say, ready to sort of begin from statements, so you can simply go to this cohort and you need to specify the reason for change in cohort, and then you can do this, right? So of course, we do not encourage changing cohort, but we have built this flexibility because we understand that this is a part-time program and you could have your academic commitments, you can have your job commitments, and switching a cohort is a good functionality, but ideally you should only exercise one whenever you're feeling that there is a serious gap and you want to sort of start over again. Let's say if you're starting out any module. All right. So I hope you guys are able to get the idea. And right. Cool. So this is more or less I wanted to sort of discuss. And there are, of course, a lot of other things, like you can see your tickets that you have created, right? So you can see your tickets as in if you have any query, right? So what you can do. So let's say if I have any confusion, so let's say I can go to this need help. I can report a problem quickly, right? And what happens that as soon as you raise your ticket, our team will have a look at it and they will resolve your ticket as soon as possible, right? And meantime, you can see the progress of your tickets here so that you're not in anxiety and you're able to sort of get whatever that you're expecting from our team overall, right? So guys, I think this is overall I just wanted to discuss. I know we are yeah, we're past the time that we wanted to sort of take, but quickly what I'll do, I think there was a question on ISA as in why we have reduced the minimum guarantee from 6 LPA to 5 LPA. That was one question. So that we have done in light of the recent events that we've been witnessing for the past few months, there has been in a way a crackdown on the global, let's say, tech market, especially, right, where even the big companies, they are, let's say, laying off people. So at the same time, of course, they are hiring, but they have laid off a great amount of people. Seeing those, we have reduced the minimum guarantee to 5 LPA, but still, I just want to give you guys an assurance that even we have reduced that minimum salary guarantee to 5. Our students who are getting placed, they're getting jobs at least more than 6 LPA, right? So that is the case. So you do not need to worry. It is just that we want to give proper outcomes, right? And we also have to understand how the entire job market or it looks like, right? So of course we are trying really best from our end, but because of the circumstances that we have seen, so we had to take that decision. We might quickly revert our decision in coming months when we see that, okay, the market is improving a lot, so we'll do that, right? So that's not a problem, right? We have been doing so we believe in ourselves, and you just need to believe in yourself, I think, right? So cool. I think probably I think we can wrap up this session, guys. So it was really great spending time with you guys on this session, where we discussed primarily about how Zomato uses machine learning and why it has been able to become such a big brand and big player in India. And of course, machine learning, I would say, would be at the core of it, right? So thank you again for taking your time out, guys, to do this session on this very early Saturday morning. So I hope you guys have a great day ahead. And if you have any confusion, please reach out to our team and mail them, or maybe our team, you can place a callback request, or even you can mail me. All right. Anything else? I don't think. Yeah. Cool. So you guys will be getting a certificate. So if you have filled out the feedback form, you'll be getting the certificate by today over your email. So please watch out for that. And we'll be sharing the presentation as well with you, and the recording over email, right? So probably can expect like end of day today, but we'll try to ship that quickly, right? So cool. All right, guys. I think thank you so much. If you have any confusion, doubts which we're not able to take in this session, you can talk to our admissions team and they will counsel you in that sense. And what we'll do with certificate? So essentially, so of course, certificate is just a token of, let's say, an achievement, in a way that you spend your time understanding something. So cool. So I hope you guys all had a great session and fun time. We'll be sharing the resources over email, so please look for your inboxes. And I'm hoping to see you guys again in this in a new masterclass. And really excited. So we'll be doing really interesting topic next weekend too. So please watch out for that. All right. So thank you again, everyone who has joined here on Zoom, over LinkedIn, and over YouTube. So thank you again for giving your time to do this session. So cool. All right. So we'll wrap up this session. And thank you so much again. Cool. Bye, guys. So take care and have a great day ahead and enjoy your weekend. All right. So see you next weekend then. Cool. Bye.